Actors, we've all got issues, so let's talk about them. You're listening to Actors with Issues, a self-help podcast for actors by actors. Hello, ladies, gents, and non-binary friends, and welcome to Actors with Issues, the self-help podcast for actors by actors. We are back with another bite-sized interview with special guests from TV, film, and Broadway to talk all about what it takes to be an actor today. I'm your host, Juan Ayala, and joining us today is the star of not one, but two Hallmark movies you can see this weekend in a Machu Picchu Proposal, which premiered last week and will air once again this Friday, July 4th at 6 p.m. Eastern, and kicking off Hallmark's annual Christmas in July lineup this Saturday at 8 p.m. on Hallmark, Unwrapping Christmas, Tina's Miracle. Alec Santos, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Thanks so much for having me. What a mouthful those two are. Thank you so much for getting it all right. That diction's coming in.
And I'm curious, we always love to sort of dive into our guests' backgrounds and whatnot. So what was life like growing up for you? Was there a particular moment that you knew you wanted to become an actor? Did it sort of just gradually build up to that realization?
Yeah, so I was in love with the stage from a very young age. I grew up in Brazil. My mother is Brazilian and my dad is Scottish and Canadian. But and we moved around a lot. I lived in Chile for a bit, and I finished high school in Miami. And even within all the moves, it seemed like I always felt at home in a drama class, in front of a theater. I was definitely one of those weird kids, like, when you got on the stage, I felt calm and at peace instead of riddled with anxiety or not. So, yeah, so I always kind of knew. So I studied biochemistry, and towards the end of it, when I was sort of applying for medical schools and seeing what I was going to do next, I signed up for an acting class, and I immediately fell in love all over again. I was like, I can't let go of this. It's got too big of a pull on me. I have to go
Mhm.
back. And then lo and behold, I was like, okay, well, let's do it. Let's see if I can figure out a way to have acting in my life one way or another for as long as I can. And here we are now.
Mhm.
So that's a long
And
story short, short
yeah.
story long. I don't know.
And once like the ball started, getting rolling for you, was there a particular goal you had in mind in those early years? Was it like, I want to end up on the Broadway stage? I want to do more film, TV? What was sort of on your radar back then?
So I was I live in Vancouver, Canada, which is kind of known as Hollywood North.
Mhm.
And even though like theater was had always been my favorite medium and still is, I was very aware that like nobody could really make a living, at least in Vancouver, in theater. And so I always kind of knew I had to transition to film first and television and try to hone those skills. And ultimately the goal is to uh, succeed so much that then one day I'll be able to perform on Broadway. That's
Mhm.
that would be the ultimate goal, right? Theater is always like the first. I mean, I'm sure you are very aware of that. I was taking a
Mhm.
look at your bio as well. It's from one theater geek to another.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I knew Vancouver. Vancouver's strengths was film and television, so and that's what I honed my skills at in the beginning. But it
Mhm.
wasn't like a lot. It wasn't a cakewalk in the beginning. I spent 2 3 years attending sort of theater schools and going to lots and lots of classes. I eventually got an agent, finally got my first booking, and then I didn't get one for another 2 years. That whole story. So up and down, roller coaster. Yeah.
And during those sort of ups and downs, 'cause, we like to sort of imagine an acting career would be this like slow uphill climb. It just gradually builds, but as we come to realize, it's more of a pulse. It's like you book something and you're on this high, and then there's a lull for a while. And whether it's because of not booking, something like COVID, a strike, many things that have
hmm
happened over the last few years, how have you sort of stayed creative and motivated during those lulls where kind of no one is really allowed to work?
Yeah, yeah, that is definitely a lesson you learn early on, right? Like, because I don't know why we all have this idea that like all it takes is that one role, especially when you're starting off. It's like, oh, I just need that first booking, and then here I go, and then you get it, and then you're like, oh, wait a minute, that's not how it works. Like, okay, all right, and then you're right, you jump into that roller coaster of emotions, and that cliche, the highs are never as high as they seem, the lows are never as low as they seem, is a bit true,
Mhm.
when you look at it in retrospect. But I think, ultimately there's a saying, they say, find your artistry. And so whether, I mean, you may not be on a stage, you may not be doing a film, but we all have, because if you're an actor and this is something you want to do for the rest of your life, you're going to need an outlet to release that artistry. And you have to find it one way or another. Maybe you can't translate it to writing, or maybe you can translate it to I still teach. I teach high school, and sometimes I really do go into a classroom, whether I'm teaching science or not, and I perform. I become a performer because I get 28 eyeballs of apathetic teenagers whenever I want, and so I have that ability. And you just have to kind of find a way to keep stoking that fire. Otherwise, it's not that it goes out, but it becomes harder to relight every time. I believe.
And fast forwarding to today, you have many credits under your belt, lots of Hallmark projects, especially. You have Hallmark is creating these franchises now with Unwrapping Christmas, which is like so cool to see because many of the films are sort of like one-offs, but you end up really sort of falling in love with these characters because they're so charmingly written and executed and all of that. So with Unwrapping Christmas, there's like four of those under your belt already, and you just had a Machu Picchu proposal come out last week. So what has sort of been the takeaway from these many experiences working on these very lighthearted projects, which we need because the world is a very dark place right now. It's nice to escape and watch a love story or something.
Yeah, it does. It definitely feels that way. I grew up very much being the fan of the gritty, the sad movie, the intense drama, and now, especially now, yeah, the value of these Hallmark films are really, really coming through. And and not just that, but just to experience Hallmark through films through real big Hallmark fans have really sort of transformed my way I look at them as well. And you're just right, that lighthearted, that when it focuses on love and it focuses on good things, it's a very, very positive thing to be out there. My Hallmark journey is a bit more sort of predictable. It did start off with like really small roles. For years, I was too young to book anything, and then one thing led to another. I had my first lead role, and then now it seems like the ball is rolling a little bit. But you never know. That ball might stop rolling at any moment. So I'll keep on being grateful, and hopefully people keep enjoying those movies. But yeah, so I guess the Unwrapping series starts this weekend, and yeah, the first story focuses on my character's romance with Natalie Hall's character, and then the subsequent three movies, the girls play a big role in each of those films, and then I come in and out almost in like a cameo format. And yeah, so I'm very, very grateful to be there now. Hallmark has embraced, a lot of things within the industry, and one of those things is the fact that I am, Latino or half Latino, and that role that I booked for Unwrapping, the character's name, it was like a fully white name. It was like Michael Lewis or something like that. And when I was talking to Natalie Hall, and then the week before shooting, she's like, "Why can't the character just be more like you? Let's call him Michael Alonso. Like, let's have you speak Spanish to your daughter whenever you get a chance." And I was like, "That sounds like a great idea. Do you think they go for that?" And Natalie goes, "Yeah, of course they're going to go for that. That's incredible. Like, that's a mirror to our society." And then she said that, and literally 2 days later, they were okay with the change. They were okay with me speaking Spanish here and there. I even speak a little bit of Portuguese in this film, and I felt really, I felt it was almost like a warm embrace. I was like, oh my God, like that's really, really cool that they would make a change like that, and embrace my own experience and into my character. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool to hear. And yeah, as you said, Hallmark has really embraced a lot of changes with LGBTQ stories as well over the years, and having stars like Jonathan Bennett lead different projects and all of that. Despite there being backlash from certain groups, they're just like, "Hey, okay, thanks for your backlash, but we're gonna keep doing what we're doing," and they're gonna continue to push forward, which has been so cool to see. And yeah, just hearing that, as a Latino As he said before, a theater geek, it's like I don't think I've ever explicitly played a Hispanic character. So they come sadly sort of rare and few and far between. But when they're able to make that change, that's so cool to hear that they just fully embraced it and went with it. And as we wrap up our time, we have what we sort of call our $1 million question, which is something that lots of young actors ask on forums and Reddit pages and things like that. And it's always sort of, how do they get that ball rolling on their career? They leave college or conservatory or their BFA program, and they've got this wonderful base of education and training, but there's so many other aspects of the industry that are not covered in those programs, whether it's business side, finance, how to get your first rep, and things like that. I'm sure now they teach you how to self-tape, but pre-COVID, they probably didn't teach that because it wasn't the norm. Right. But what advice do you have for a young actor who is maybe feeling a bit stuck in their career and wants to get that ball rolling?
So yeah, especially as a young actor, I would sign up for all the student films. I would, do some of my own. It's almost like mandatory that you have to kind of also learn how to write and learn how to create your own projects, which sounds really daunting, but ultimately it's very, very doable. There are tons and tons of even here in Vancouver, there's this like run and gun film festival that people of all ages, from students to very accomplished actors and directors, they sign up because it's such a fun film festival. They're these short films that they produce within 48 hours. Anything that hones your skills, because I think the art of filmmaking is so collaborative, right? Like, we have this idea as actors, we certainly are there. We watch these movies and we remember the actors mostly. But everyone is working so hard on a film set, and it doesn't matter what kind of movie it is. And everyone is passionate about, whatever their art is. I on a set of a Hallmark that I did last year, the director was obsessed with lighting, and I spent some time talking to him about that. Like, what was it that he was so interested in lighting? Like, he took a NASA physics course just
Oh,
because,
wow.
like, in between his movies, he's like, I just want to know more about lighting. Like, I know everything there is to know to frame a shot, but now I want to know how it works.
Yeah.
That's so cool. And yeah, I think you have to kind of find ways to keep that fire going. Yeah, in the beginning, the more experience, the better. You never know. It is a game of numbers. You never know if one of the people you worked with are going to somehow get that leg up, and if they remember you, they will remember you.
Hmm.
I have gotten calls from directors I've worked with to be like, "Hey, help me out with this," and I always say yes. So, or I try to, right? Obviously, it's we have bills to pay and that kind of stuff to do. So, always pay your bills. That's really important. There was another really great mentor of mine when I was younger. He used to say, don't, especially in the beginning, don't focus at all on money. Make sure you have money coming from somewhere, right? Make sure you have that other job, that other hustle where you don't rely on acting for a paycheck. And because it will kind of take some of that artistry and passion away from it, right? You want to dull anything in your life, you add money to it, right? So um, yeah, I think those two aspects are really, really important. Just do as much as you can, and find the joy of the art itself, especially in the beginning. And things will start to fall through, not fall through. What's the word? Sometimes things will start to fall in place.
There you go.
Uh, yeah, I think that's it. And then be patient too. If I could tell something to myself when I was younger, it's like, be patient. Like, it's when I look at actors sort of my age, or people who are still in game, patience is one of the biggest virtues.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you foster that, but find a way.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Alec, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us and for joining us today. For anyone who wants to give you a follow on socials, where can they find you?
Instagram, Alec Santos on Instagram mostly. That's where I'm at.
And once again, folks, you can see Alec Santos in A Machu Picchu Proposal this Friday, July 4th at 6 p.m. Eastern on Hallmark, and in Unwrapping Christmas, Tina's Miracle this Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Thanks for joining us. Actors with Issues is hosted and produced by Juan Ayala. If you enjoyed today's episode, subscribe to our YouTube channel or on the podcast platform you're listening to. Visit actorswithissues.com for exclusive news and reviews, and give us a follow on Instagram and TikTok at Actors With Issues.